So let's just talk about the first three to start off with, because I'm a big Jaxson Dart fan. Okay, let's talk about the first three. We'll talk about Sanders and Ward and Dart. Now, all three of them have reputations for being great leaders. Okay, in their own organizations. The question is, which personality fits along with their physical traits to your organization? So Shador has a little bit of the primetime attitude, you know, and there's nothing wrong with having, some cockiness about it, which is confidence slash cockiness, but you have to make sure that your organization is ready to make that type of mentality the face of your program. Because if you're drafting a quarterback in the first round, you're hoping and you're counting on that eventually he's going to be the face of your program. Now, Bob and I worked together for years, and we know that first round quarterbacks are a 50-50 proposition. 50% of the time you're right, 50% of the time you're wrong. Okay, but at the end of the day, when you're picking a quarterback, tapping the ball just one minor element along with everything else that you're dealing with, because the two most important ingredients of a quarterback, one's physical, okay, that you could see physically, and one isn't. The physical attribute is accuracy. I don't care what your arm strength is. Are you accurate with where you're throwing the ball? Because what difference does it make? Your arm, they say your arm isn't strong enough, and the ball's always on the money. They said Drew Brees' arm wasn't strong enough. They said Tommy Brady couldn't throw the ball deep. Because when he first came in the league, when we were first playing him, we were dinking and dunking a lot. I mean, those two guys are two of the greatest quarterbacks ever, and both had reputations of having a weakness that you can't overcome. So that is the physical element. But I think even more important than the physical element is, do they have the it factor? Do they have that when you talk to them? Those type of quarterbacks, there's something special about them. When you talk to them, you can feel it. I don't know how to define it, but when you see it, when you're around it, you know it.
Coach, let me ask you this. You know Brian Dable.
I do.
Do you feel Shador Sanders fits what he's looking for?
Well, Brian is a bit of a free spirit himself, as you know.
Yes.
I mean, he's a little
bit of a rebel. He's a little bit of a rebel attitude.
That's right. He's a bit of a free spirit, and he has a very good reputation of being to adjust with players' personalities. So, do I think that Shador and Brian could peacefully coexist? Yes, I do. I think they could peacefully coexist. Okay, I have no idea what the Giants are going to do. No idea. But I'm going to be very surprised if they take a quarterback at the top of the draft. I'm going to be very surprised. Because I think that if they wouldn't have gone and signed 2 veteran free agents in the last month, I might say that there's more desperation than there is. But there's still people that are available. I still don't know if that would have been the right word. But with what they have done, I mean, I think that they're in a situation where they got to get the best player they possibly can. And if you don't, when you're drafting up high, if you don't get the best player you possibly can, I mean, then you're kind of missing a beat.
Coach, when you talk about arm strength too, I mean, the physique, the technique, the throwing motion of Tom Brady was drastically different between 2001 and 2014. I mean, you're also allowed to work on your craft. He became an even better thrower.
Yeah,
from a technique standpoint.
Right. And
so as long as the guy's arm is not viewed as subpar, but if it's viewed as NFL good enough, well, he's a rookie. You're hoping that this player will improve on every level, mentally and physically, right?
You know what's even more important than the arm, Bob, is your feet, your lower body. How calm are their lower bodies? I mean, when you watch Tommy, he'd stand in that pocket and his feet would be standing still. Okay, which is exactly what you're looking for. You know, how many times have you seen quarterbacks that have happy feet? You know, that always are jumpy. They're always jumpy. Now, whether they're jumpy because they see the rush, I mean, you don't know what the reason is. But the really good quarterbacks stand very calm in the pocket. Stand very calm.
Coach, talk about Jaxson Dart. My latest mock, all that fun stuff. I have him going to the Saints at 9.
Wouldn't surprise me one bit.
Do you? I know you love him. Obviously, you coach your son coached him and all that. You have a connection with him. You watched every one of his snaps. Am I crazy saying he's going to go that high, Coach?
It's funny. I read a thing today from some NFL guy who does like quarterback schools, and he's a Cleveland guy, and he was hammering Dart. And I'm saying to myself, who the hell decided that your opinion even matters? Who even cares what you think? Really, who cares? I mean, what do you know about the guy? I mean, really, what do you know? I mean, it really drives me sick, to tell you the truth. Now, in both Cam Ward's and Shedeur Sanders' defense, I do not know them personally. So I can't speak the same about those guys that I could speak about Dart. But I've watched Dart over the last 3 years, since when he transferred from USC to Ole Miss. My kid was there as the offensive coordinator and quarterback coach, and Lane's there, who's a brilliant offensive mind. And all I've watched him do is get better and better and better and better on and off the field. Do you want to know the first question the kid asked me? The first summer he's there, I'm visiting my kid, and Lane is kind enough to allow me to sit in the meetings in the back. So I'm sitting in the back of the quarterback room, and I'm very proudly watching my son go through a lesson teaching the guys, and there's a Q&A, and they're all asking. At the end, after it was over, I didn't say a word. I just sit there and watch. And at the end, Dart asked if he could talk to me for a couple minutes. I said, sure. What can I do for you? And he said, his first question, Chris, what's the difference between a good quarterback and a great quarterback? Mm. And I said, well, Jaxson, let me tell you this. You got Charlie here. You got Lane here. Let me not talk about the coaching football. Let me just use Tommy Brady as an example. Now, there's a lot of people that have been affiliated with Tommy Brady that use Tommy Brady as an example. So let me just be first to mention that I'm not taking any credit for Tommy Brady. I'm just saying I was around him for the initial 5 years of his career. All right? But
the formative years.
But what I watched him do after he took over the team, after Drew got hurt, he was playing. He worked the entire organization. You'd walk in the locker room one day, he'd be talking to the receivers. The next day, he'd be talking to the linemen. The next day, he'd be talking to the running backs and tight ends. The next day, he'd be with the DBs. The next day, he would be with the linebackers. The next day, he'd be with the defensive linemen. The next day, he'd be with the specialist. And I watched him take over the team. He didn't just take over the offense. He took over the team. And what I've watched Jaxson do over the last 3 years is the exact same thing, just out on the college level instead of on the pro level. He just took over the team. And I said, I'm not betting against Ward or Sanders, not $1, but I'm all in on Jaxson Dart. I'm all in.
Yeah, and I mean, you've been telling me that for a while, and people that are watching this, they'll say, "Well, yeah, of course, his son is his OC. He's going to be pumping him up."
That's not the reason.
No, I know that.
I gain nothing, and my kid gains nothing. Okay, we gain. I'm just telling you from watching him play and watching him lead his team and watching how he's adored in the building and how the fans adore him and the people in the building adore him. I mean, you go through the lunch line, the cafeteria people adore him. I mean, there's very few people that fit that criteria. There's a lot of great players, but they're not liked and adored by everybody. But he is. I said to one of your local New York beat writers that was going to the combine, that was going to do an article on Jaxson Dart, I said, do me a favor. There's 11 Ole Miss guys going to the combine, Jaxson being one of them. Ask all 10 of them the same question. Okay, ask all 10 of them to describe Jaxson Dart. I go, you're going to get the same answer all 10 times. Now, most of those guys that were there were defensive players, or a lot of them were defensive players. So defensive players don't normally, have that much to say about the quarterback. But some of those big-time transfers that ended up coming from the portal into Ole Miss were recruited by the quarterback. They played defense, and the reason why they came was because of the quarterback. I mean, he's really something special.
Well, I mean, Coach, listen, I know where you're coming from because we've known each other forever. And I know that you're coming from a place of just being honest, because you can be bluntly honest with people. And I tell it all the time. You were all over Jaden Daniels.
Loved him.
Early in the year. You're like, he's the best quarterback in college football, and he's going to be an unbelievable pro. And the other guy that you said was Bo Nix. Just like you were all in on Baker Mayfield, he's proven you right despite some of the issues that he had to deal with along the way. Dak Prescott was someone that you were on early. So, I mean, people got to uncloud their mind and just listen to the words,
I think it's important, Bob. Every organization has an extensive staff, both of coaches and personnel people. Okay, they have an extensive staff. And when they do all this work, no two organizations see things exactly alike. I mean, they all see them differently.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure there's people. I mean, there's still some organizations that say, we don't see Jaxson Dart in the first round. I'll be shocked if he doesn't go in the first round. Absolutely shocked if he's not picked. If he lasts to the 20s, if the Steelers or the Rams don't take him, I would fall over. But I don't think he's going to be around for either one of those teams. Not the 20s. I don't think so.
I'd be shocked because he feels like he would be a perfect McVay guy.
No doubt about it. And I think that with any quarterback, and my feelings on quarterbacks playing when they're rookies, Bob, I think any quarterback it's an invaluable experience for a quarterback to come in under a vet who knows how to do it the right way. I mean, you come in and you go in, if you went into the Rams with Stafford there, who's one of those guys who does everything the right way. I mean, Stafford doesn't have a lot of gas left in the tank, and you go in and watch and learn under him. I mean, with a brilliant offensive mind like McVay, I mean, it would be utopia. I just don't. Can you see him hanging around to 26?
Yeah,
probably not.
Coach, I got him going with Derek Carr and Kellen Moore in New Orleans.
No, I think it's another. If I'm Kellen Moore, I'm taking him because I'm saying, look, I'm paying Carr a lot of money. He's going to be our quarterback this year, but the writing is kind of on the wall that he's not the long-term answer in New Orleans.
No.
The division is not that tough. I mean, so one bright spot at the quarterback position could be the difference between winning the division and not winning the division. Look at the Commanders last year. Did you think that the Commanders were going to be a playoff caliber team?
No.
And you can talk about all the things that Dan Quinn did, and I love Dan Quinn. Okay, and justifiably so. But they're in the playoffs because of Jaden Daniels.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely.
I mean,
Absolutely.
And Denver's in contention because of Bo Nix.
Mm-hmm.
So, some of those other quarterbacks, I mean, Caleb Williams might turn out to be a star, especially now. You got Ben Johnson there and in there. It's a good fit. They went and got offensive linemen. He might thrive in the second year. Normally, you take a big jump from the first year to the second year. But, I mean, there's certain people that fit organizations. Like, I look at Jackson. I'd love for him to go to Pittsburgh. Bob and I are both big Tomlin fans. And what is the missing ingredient in Pittsburgh?
Quarterback.
Ever since Roethlisberger left, that's been the missing ingredient. I mean, so hey, we all have heard the rumors that Aaron Rodgers might go there. Is Aaron Rodgers the long-term answer in Pittsburgh? We know the answer to that question. That's rhetorical. Even if he does go, it's a short-term deal. Bringing you in to sit you. I talk to people in the league, but I never ask them, hey, what do you think about this guy? What do you think about that guy? I always tell them, like, if they ask me about a guy from Ole Miss, normally I'll say, hey, just call Lane. Because Lane will tell you. And the good thing about Lane is he'll tell you the bad along with the good. He's not a big BSer now. I mean, he'll tell you exactly how he perceives it. And so obviously my kid's there, and Joe Judge is there too, which is kind of phenomenal, by the way, Bob, because my kid absolutely loves Joe Judge, loves him, works with him every single day. He actually loves the guy, So
he loves Jaxson Dart too.
So he gets ridden out of Dodge, in New York, but he's down there, and I think he's found a nice little home for himself down there because I know Lane leans on Joe, and I know my kid leans on him too, and he loves the guy.
Yeah,
I don't think he was ready. I don't think
he was ready.
I think I don't think he was ready. I don't think he put a staff together that translated to the NFL, and I think my guess is when he gets an opportunity collegiately or whatever next, he's going to learn He'll learn because I love being around him. He was great to be around. So I'm glad your son feels the same way.
I was just down there this week. Selfishly, what I would to both of you, I know this is not just a New York podcast, but selfishly, I would like for them to take, either Hunter or Carter with the first pick, and then trade up into the first and go get Jackson. I mean, because I'm rooting for whoever.
I'm there for that.
Huh?
Giants have had pretty good success with Ole Miss quarterbacks now.
So that's
Charlie Connerly and Eli.
That's what I'm rooting for. That that I'm rooting for exactly what I said that to you. I don't know if they'd be willing to go up to what it would take to get up to go get them.
If they love them, you do it. If you really love them, and you can get one of these blue ribbon guys up top, and then still go get a guy that now does not have to play. He may play, but that you're not force feeding him. 3 weeks in.
He's going to be your answer for the next decade. That's what he's going to be. No, he's not going to be. It might not be your answer this year.
You wouldn't need him to be.
But he believes he could be. he believes he could play. But I mean, what quarterback thinks they're going to go in the league and says I can't play? I mean, the next time you find one of those, let me know, because it'll be the first time. They all think they could play.